Have you ever wondered, why do we get goosebumps when we're scared? How do emotions actually work? And can we learn to control them? Let's start with a simple question. What exactly are emotions? From a scientific perspective, emotions aren't just spontaneous feelings. They're a complex biochemical system designed by nature to help us survive and adapt to the world around us. But where do emotions come from? Are we born with them? Or do they develop and change throughout our lives? For a long time, researchers believed in the basic emotions theory. Inspired by Paul Ekman's work, this theory says there are 6 basic emotions: joy, sadness, fear, anger, disgust, surprise. These emotions are considered innate and universal, helping us survive and pass down through generations. However, the basic emotions theory doesn't explain one important thing: why different people react differently to the same situation. This led to a newer idea, Lisa Feldman Barrett's theory of constructed emotions. According to this theory, emotions aren't fixed or universal. Instead, they're shaped by our unique experiences, the context we're in, and how we interpret and label what we feel. But if emotions aren't just hardwired, then how does the brain actually create them? Let's imagine a scenario to make it clearer. You're walking home late at night after a party. The moon is full, it's dark, and you need to pass through a small forest. You're walking calmly, when suddenly you hear a crunch in the bushes. Here's what happens in your brain step by step. Thalamus, the brain signal dispatcher, receives the sensory input and decides where to send it. If the signal seems important, it goes to the amygdala, which quickly checks for danger or reward. Detecting a possible threat in the bushes, the hypothalamus kicks in, activating your body. Your pulse speeds up, adrenaline rises, and your breathing changes, all getting you ready for action. These physical signals then travel to the insula, which acts like a body scanner, reading your internal state: warmth, trembling, tension, dry mouth. But the emotion itself doesn't appear automatically. The prefrontal cortex and cingulate cortex start analyzing. What does this mean? Why is my heart racing? This is where the brain makes a prediction. It compares the current sensations with past experiences, recalling similar situations and using the emotional concepts you've learned. For example, labeling this as fear. Next, your brain looks at the context, where you are, what's happening, who's around. Once it integrates all of this, body signals, memory, and context, it constructs the emotion. At that moment, the brain decides, what I'm feeling right now is fear. So, what happens in the body when we experience strong emotions like fear, joy, or sadness? Emotions activate the autonomic nervous system, which controls things we don't consciously manage: breathing, heart rate, sweating, even skin temperature. This system has 2 branches: sympathetic, the fight or flight response; parasympathetic, the rest and digest mode. When the brain, especially the amygdala, detects a threat or a strong emotional event, it sends a signal to the hypothalamus, the command center, which activates the sympathetic system. This triggers a chain reaction, the release of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, instantly preparing the body for action, even if there's no real danger. But why do completely opposite emotions sometimes trigger similar responses, like crying or goosebumps? Researchers at Yale and Harvard suggest that tears aren't just an emotional spillover, they're a self-regulation mechanism. When an emotion peaks, whether positive or negative, the parasympathetic system tries to restore balance by activating the tear glands. Tears contain stress hormones and endorphins, helping the body release tension and return to equilibrium. Goosebumps or pillow erection are an ancient reflex left over from our ancestors. When the sympathetic system activates, tiny muscles at the base of hair follicles contract. In animals, this made them look bigger and more threatening. In humans, the protective function is gone, but the mechanism remains, now triggered by fear, excitement, or powerful music. These physical reactions aren't just side effects. They are part of a continuous cycle where the brain and body communicate. The brain triggers a reaction, the body responds, and that response helps the brain understand what we're feeling. Now that we understand how emotions are created, What role do they actually play in our lives? Many people think rational decisions are made without emotions, but that's not true. Emotions are the foundation of every choice we make. This was famously shown by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio in the 1990s. He studied patients with damage to the emotional centers of their brains. These patients could reason logically, but couldn't make decisions. What to eat, what to wear, or what to buy. They would analyze options endlessly, but couldn't pick one, because they lacked the emotional signals that guide choice. When you face a decision, like whether to buy a new phone, your brain instantly activates memories from past experiences. These memories bring up emotional markers: pleasant, unpleasant, safe, risky. The brain evaluates not only logical factors, price, features, but also bodily signals, tension, excitement, interest. Damasio called this the somatic marker mechanism. In other words, our emotions and bodily responses serve as internal cues, helping us sense which option feels right. If emotions have such a strong influence on our decisions, can we actually learn to control them? The answer is yes, but not in the way you might think. Modern research shows that the brain can regulate emotions consciously, changing how we interpret them, how intense they feel, and even how our body responds. For example, you might feel fear before speaking in public because of a past negative experience. Your brain interprets the situation as threatening, but you can consciously reinterpret the situation, reminding yourself that there's no real danger. There are a few proven methods for regulating emotions. Cognitive reappraisal, a strategy of emotion regulation that involves changing the way a situation is interpreted in order to alter its emotional impact. For example, when you encounter a situation for the first time, your initial interpretation may be inaccurate or incomplete. By deliberately reinterpreting the situation and considering alternative meanings, you can change its perceived significance, which in turn influences your emotional response. Mindfulness, being aware of your emotional state before reacting automatically. This lets you decide whether the emotion fits the situation or if you should reframe it. In simple terms, managing emotions doesn't mean suppressing them, it means guiding them consciously. You notice what you're feeling, understand why, and choose how to respond. This is emotional self-regulation, not turning off your feelings. When you start to understand how your emotions work, you stop being their prisoner. In that moment, emotions stop controlling you, they are become your tool.